Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going over the light that you see on this pistol right here. This is the Inforce APL. This is the Gen 3 version of it. It's the most recent version. This one here is just released now in 2017. So they've been out for a few months now, but not too long. So it's still a relatively new model. Breaking news, if you will, with this report. So what we're going to do is do some more shooting with it, of course, to verify durability over a longer period of time. And then we're also going to go outside here in just a second and do a beam comparison with a few other lights out there on the market and let you know what kind of output we're getting in terms of beam pattern as well as total output. And we'll come back in, go over the details of the light, and that should pretty much do it at the end. So first we'll let the dogs take a look at it, make sure it's good to go, and then do that beam comparison. The fence that you're looking at in front of you, the end right here, is about 30 to 35 feet away from where we're standing right now, so a good distance away. This would be about a very large room size, I would say. Of course, we're outside. I have the aperture of my camera set so that it looks kind of like what it looks like here to my naked eye, as close as I can get it anyway. So you can see there on the end, we do have sort of a hot spot, but we do have some spill as well going out on the sides. You can kind of see the trees over there, which are past it. Those are a little bit past, definitely 40 feet away at least. Some of those are much further out. And definitely a good balanced beam pattern overall. To give you a frame of reference, here is the 800 lumen Streamlight TLR1HL. So this is kind of one of those lumen monster lights. Real bright hotspot. And then over here on the left, the APL. So you're definitely giving up some power. The hotspot's definitely not as bright. Do you need it to be that bright? I don't know. That one, I guess, would be up to you, but the TLR and then the APL, again, just to give you kind of a light comparison. Again, here we have the APL, as you just saw. Now we have the APL-C. So it's the APL-C over here on the right of your screen. On the left here, we have the standard APL. We're going to switch them out so you guys can kind of get an idea of what they look like. APL-C on the left of your screen, rather, APL on the left. And you can kind of just get beam pattern here. This is the APL-C again, just to kind of keep you guys aware of what we're looking at, and then the APL. The APL definitely is a brighter light, particularly when you encompass the spill of it, but it's not dramatically different. I mean, it is brighter. There's no doubt about it. I'm not sure how well it comes across on camera, but again, not, overwhelmingly so, I wouldn't say. We saw the beam pattern. Now we'll get into the function of the light. There are two paddles here on the rear of the light. I really like this paddle system. It's one of the most intuitive and ergonomic ones out there of any lights on the market, in my opinion. I've always said that about the Inforce lights. I do like their activation. And this one here is as good as the other ones have been. So basically, it's completely ambidextrous, so each paddle works the same. So you can press and hold and get your momentary on. Doesn't matter how long you hold it for, as long as you continue to hold it. When you let off, it will release. So it's completely momentary in that regard. And then if you want a constant on, you just press real quick tap of it, and it will stay on for a constant on. Same thing over here on the right side. Same function, so that certainly is good. It's operated by a CR123. My hands are a little bit sweaty here, but we'll get them off. CR123 battery, and to actually put it in, you just rotate the light out, and then there is your battery. They go in opposite of most lights, so the actual positive goes down. One thing you'll see in there is just like on the Gen 2, one of the improvements, the APL line that they've made over the years, is that this is all aluminum here with threading, and then you can kind of see the aluminum housing there on the inside of the polymer body. So they did that because some of the Gen 1s had cracking around the bezel. This one, I've never heard of any reports. These have been out for a couple months now of that happening, so that's certainly a good thing. The light does have a lockout feature, whereas if you tighten it all the way down, you can see there it comes on, but for storage or something like that, you just turn it out a little bit and it will lock it out, so that way there's no way that you could drain the battery. Say if you had it in your rifle bag and there was pressure on it or something like that, There's no way it could happen. As soon as you just turn it about a quarter click out, and then it's locked out. So that is one of the features of it. Another thing they did to sort of beef it up is that on the Gen 2 APLs, which I have right here, one of the things they did was go to this screw instead of the little clamp. That was one of the improvements they made. However, the clamping device here on the Gen 3 here that we have is different from the one on the Gen 2. As you guys can see, the big difference is that it's actually made out of aluminum. So on the Gen 2 here, this was all polymer, the actual pieces that did the clamping themselves, as well as the rail that went across. Here we have aluminum on all of them. So the clamping is aluminum, so it's metal on metal, and then the bar is a universal bar, by the way. That works with Glock rails or any 1913 rails out there. As soon as you snug it down, it's nice and tight. We've had it on several different pistols and have had no issues in terms of fitment, so that's certainly a good thing. But that clamping is one thing they fixed, because folks who oftentimes over tighten these a little bit, you'd see them crack out there on the internet. You'd see reports of that, and with the aluminum, it's much more unlikely that that would happen. So it's definitely strengthening the design. However, if you ever have problems with Inforce, I mean, you'll hear about problems with them out there on the internet in the past. One thing you never hear about is problems with their customer service. They've always had awesome customer service, so that's a good thing. However, with this new design, it's definitely much less likely that you're going to need them. I wanted to do a quick size comparison with a few other lights out there on the market to let you guys know how slim these lights are, which I do like. Here is our APL C, which is the compact version. We'll be doing a review of that one here in probably a few weeks. We'll get that review out, but it's a little bit shorter, but in terms of width, it's pretty much exactly the same. So the bulge, if you will, in your carry gun that you get from your light is pretty much the same here with this. It's just a little bit shorter, a little bit more compact there. Here we have the Streamlight TLR1HL, and you can see there it's much slimmer overall, particularly when we actually tighten this down, so you guys can actually get a little bit better idea of what it would actually look like. But it is much slimmer overall for sure in terms of if you were carrying it inside the waistband. So you can see it's a little bit longer, shorter, a little bit longer here rather, and wider with the Streamlight. Now with the X300 Ultra by Surefire, it's even more dramatic. So if we make them kind of even there in the back, you can see it's much longer, it's much wider. Just a bigger light overall. Now, of course, the output levels are different, materials are different, but I just kind of wanted to give you guys a size comparison, because this is a very low weight light. It's also a very low sort of girth light, and that's one of the big things people have liked about them for years for concealed carry. But this thing with the battery comes in right at 2.95 ounces, so it's under 3 ounces with the battery, which is one of the big advantages of the Inforce lights for a lot of folks. I always like to try to show you guys a holster option whenever we're doing a light review or a gun review, and with this one here, it's from Priority One Holsters. You guys can see it's kind of a two-tone look outside the waistband rig with the light, but they make these IWB as well, so if you want to carry it inside the waistband with the Inforce lights, they do have the option. Nice secure fit, good holster overall for sure. Just throwing that out there because I know some of you guys will be asking. If not, earlier in the video we went over the actual operational light, but I want to go over why it's important to have both a constant and momentary on type function. There's a couple reasons why I think it's important, but first and foremost, when you're actually searching and you're using that momentary on function with it, you don't want to have your light on any longer than you need, because of course if you're putting light out to see things, people who might be out there trying to do harm to you can also see that light, and it gives them a reference point of where you're at. So you want to minimize the amount of time you're actually using it, so that's a good thing. However, a scenario where having a constant on is good, which is, let's say one hand goes down for whatever reason. Say you're doing home defense and you have to hold a small child who may have run to you and grabbed onto your leg or something like that. The ability to, with your trigger finger, be able to have it constant on and do your searching, firing, whatever you have to do, and then turn it off is a good thing. Also, should you get into a lethal force encounter and actually shoot someone, you want to be able to keep that light on them constantly to make sure that they're either not reaching for a weapon or being a threat to you in any sort of way. It gives you that ability to do so and still use your offhand, say, to call 911 or something like that. So that's why it's good to have both those features built into the light. It's just a good advantage in a fighting light, if you will. Cost on these we didn't cover so far, but it's pretty simple. Looking around online, I see them for generally $125 to $135, give or take. So it's not the most expensive weapon light out there at all, but it's not the cheapest, so it's sort of somewhere in the middle for that. And 400 lumens, I guess, is something we need to talk about as well. Nowadays, there's sort of the ultra high lumen lights out there, which some of them I absolutely am a fan of. But I think for most situations, particularly with a pistol, the 400 lumens will probably be it'll probably serve you well, particularly with the beam pattern that we have on this one. It has a pretty wide beam, so for, again, home defense type scenarios, it's going to illuminate a wider area than some of the really throwy lights will. And even outdoors for, again, pistol type engagements, you should be able to do just fine with the output of this light, at least in my opinion. So, you get 90 minutes of runtime. If you wanted to bump this up to 600 lumens, I'm sure Inforce could do it with their programming, but you'd lose a little bit of runtime. So it's always a little bit of a balancing act, particularly when you have only one CR123 battery in there powering it. So overall, good light. I like the changes that they've made to decrease the chance of having an issue with it. I think this model, the Gen 3, if you will, is going to be around for a long time for Inforce. I think they've kind of got a winner on their hands with this design and the changes and the rolling changes that they've made to it. So that's pretty much it, guys. If you have any questions about the light or anything else we talk about here on the channel, you can always post down below in the comments section. You can also post over at my Facebook page. As always, that generally is the best way to get in touch with me. I tend to see messages more over there than I do other places. So that's pretty much it. If you guys are subscribed, thank you for subscribing. If you found this through a YouTube search and the video just popped up, I recommend you go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you like what you see, because we do a lot of gear reviews around here. And even if you are subscribed, you guys should be hitting that like button. And as always, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing and watching, and we'll see you in the next video.